I'm sure that many of you have experienced the passionate support of a sports team during a game, to the point where you may have engaged in a heated argument with someone who spoke negatively about the team you were rooting for. However, have you ever found yourself in a similar situation inside the stadium as the match unfolded before your eyes, and you engaged in a fierce verbal battle with a fan from the opposing team? I know I have. The experience I'm about to tell you is not something I would call scary, but it sure is something I will never forget. Are you already dressed up? But the game doesn't start till the evening, Kane asked as he scanned me from head to toe, before looking at his phone to check the time, and it was only 3 p.m. Hell yeah, I don't want to get there late and get pushed around by the crowd to get to my seat, I said, as I sat on the couch and started scrolling through the phone. Whatever, dude. It's not like you would get entry before everyone else. He returned to his room after grabbing the water bottle from the refrigerator, while I ignored him. I was texting Vincent and Martin, who were supposed to accompany us to the game, asking when they would reach my house, when I heard Peter's voice coming from the room where he and Kane were playing an online game. Don't you dare go around nagging them too about arriving earlier than the decided time. We would not be late, so you better rest easy. It felt as though time had come to a standstill. In an attempt to pass the seemingly endless minutes, I headed to the kitchen to grab a bag of chips. I mindlessly scrolled through several YouTube videos. Those videos later, I finally heard the doorbell sound. Excitedly, I rushed to welcome the last 2 members of our group, who would be joining us at the stadium. What was wrong with the time today? As Kane and Peter were getting ready, time seemed to be moving at a breakneck pace, like a rabbit darting through a field. When we finally managed to leave the house, we were met with frustrating traffic that only added to our time constraints. However, despite these setbacks, we arrived at the stadium on time, and finally I could relax once I reached my seat. See, I told you we wouldn't be late, Peter sitting on my left said as he stuffed his face with a handful of popcorn. Another group of friends sat beside me, donning the opposing team's shirts and fervently expressing their confidence in their team's ability to emerge victorious in the forthcoming match. In the back of my mind, I thought we would see who would win, and I continued to focus on the game. As the team I was rooting for gained more points, those people's demeanor underwent a complete transformation. Their tongues were loosened, and they began spewing unpleasant words about the leading team. However, I did my best to remain focused on the game as it grew increasingly engrossing with each passing minute, and I tried not to pay too much attention to their bitter comments like sore losers. When the 4th quarter of the match unfolded, and the players relentlessly battled it out on the court, with the team I supported scoring winning points, I heard something ticking from one of my rival team's fans that sat beside me. Initially, I was determined to remain composed and fully concentrate on the game. However, my calm demeanor was shattered when this individual began hurling a barrage of abusive words at my team. Their behavior had crossed all reasonable boundaries, and I felt incredibly frustrated and upset. "What did you just say, you little shit?" When I muttered the word sore loser, I could see the individual's face contort with anger, as if I had struck a painful nerve through my comment. I wasn't planning on sitting still anymore, so I repeated the words out loud. Blown argument between us, with our friends and fellow fans of each team soon joining in. The air grew thick with tension as emotions ran high, and the other individual persisted. We were suddenly interrupted by the sound of someone throwing a punch. In a matter of seconds, the man I was disputing with lunged toward me, and we found ourselves embroiled in a physical altercation, and we found for dominance. As the commotion escalated, supporters of both sides began to gather, clamoring over chairs and joining in on the brawl. Amidst the chaos, I suddenly felt the sensation of drinks being flung in our direction, but my focus remained fixed on the fight at hand. The chaotic scene at the stadium was finally under control as the security team intervened and we were escorted outside. However, the aftermath left some of us badly injured. Despite the pain and discomfort from the punches I received, I couldn't help but feel relieved as I saw other fans celebrating our team's victory. As my eyes met with the other 4 in the same state as me, we all shared a moment of camaraderie through our shared injuries. Our laughter echoed through the halls as we poked fun at each other's appearances, the swelling and bruises adding character to our previously unremarkable faces. We each said, "You should have seen the other guy." As we made our way to the parking lot, we noticed the group of individuals we had encountered earlier standing near a car. The disappointment on their faces was evident, due to their team's loss in the match and because they had been defeated in the physical altercation with us. Before departing the area, I gestured an L sign with my fingers, causing them to clench their fists in frustration. Though I acknowledge it was a somewhat juvenile action, it brought me a sense of gratification as we erupted into laughter. We then drove to the hospital, and after seeking medical attention, we went to the local bar to commemorate our team's triumph. Despite the wounds and bruises sustained during the event, we felt compelled to toast the memorable day we had just experienced before returning to our plain old lives.
Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. Super Bowl is the biggest event when it comes to sports in America. The top player of NFL, celebrities singing their chart-burst songs, and the whole nation sticking to the television screens, doing nothing but watching a game and watching these halftime shows that took over the television for that event. It is phenomenal, as it is when it comes to these halftime shows on television. But when you are out there in the stadium with thousands of people cheering and shouting for their teams, and the group dynamic in the place is off the charts. I get to witness that dynamic firsthand when I was in the stadium during one of those Super Bowl events. It blew me away, and it was off the charts. There was so much fun in there, and we couldn't help but overstay as the events got over, and knowing that parking and getting out would cost us another 2 hours, we stayed still. As the game ended and the stadium slowly emptied, me and my friends decided to get back, and we were so hyped and pumped by what we have witnessed that we couldn't help but talk about it all the way. And as we were busy talking about it, we didn't realize that we had no way to get back but by walking. The public transport had been closed, and the only way that seemed to be reasonable was either staying in the empty stadium that was almost impossible. It was around 12:05 in the night, while my friends suggested that we should walk all the way to our homes, which was around 12 miles away. I thought it was a stupid idea, knowing that there is a massive patch of forest in the way that had been notorious for many abductions in the past, and I decided that we should not try to get into that trouble that we can clearly avoid. But they were adamant that they will take the way, and decided that it doesn't matter. We are 6, and together, no one can mess with us. And in that false sense of confidence, we decided that we will walk the way. I decided to put in the message before to my friends back in the dorm, just in case something happened. The first few miles were easy, because of the after rush of the game. We even tried to hitch a ride, but failed. No one was ready to hitchhike the 6 young college students. And so we walked, not caring much and talking experience. And as we were reaching the end of the highway, and in the very beginning of the patch, I could remember that Langley kid who hanged himself to the tree. I even knew the tree. It was the 3rd tree in the right. And as I saw the tree, I remembered the image of him hanging. And then I remembered these murders of the Jones sisters that happened in the middle of the road, or how Claire was molested and brutally murdered in the middle of the very road that we were walking in, helping me deal with the fear present that I was in. And as I walked, I started imagining things. I was talking to my friends. One of my friends had his arms around me, and when I looked to the right where my friends were, I saw all 5 of them walking on the right side of the road, but the hand around my arm was on the left side. And as I turned, I see on my left, I freaked out. It was the Langley kid. His neck was blue from the scar by the rope, and it freaked me out, and the fear just passed on to my friends, and they tried to understand what just happened. They ignored me, calling me vividly imagining incidents. And then, one of them saw the 2 Jones sisters dancing in the middle of the road. And as we moved to the middle of the road, one was walking inside the forest, and I tried to stop them both, and they snapped out of it. And one of them saw the Jones sisters calling him, and the other one saw Claire calling him into the jungle. I realized what was happening and decided to act before they come back, and I told them all to grip reality with all their might. I said, these beings want us to slip away. Let's just hold on to reality as tightly as we can. And we decided to hold our hands as we walked. And to cut the way short, we decided to sing loudly. And as we did, we felt less scared. And that was the one thing that kept us going, singing. But the thing is, all the time we were singing, these apparitions were right in front of us, looking at us, staring at us, and grunting at us, trying to intimidate us into submitting. But together, we were strong and would just not give in. As we were walking through the forest singing, I felt the hand of Langley around my neck, and I saw that it was leaving the mark there. And he whispered in my ear, "You will have to come to us eventually, in the very way I did. Don't worry, I will be waiting, friend." And then he went away. And I remember every single apparition the boys were seeing went away. As the years passed by, we decided to forget about that incident. Super Bowl and NFL was something that we only saw on the television, and life went on to be that of living joys and sorrow, and it never came back to me. The story was almost forgotten, never to be remembered, until a few weeks ago. Then things got really rough, and to the point of no return. It was then when I decided to contact one old friend who was there on the trip with me. And we remembered that scary trip that we took, and I told him what happened on the final turn when Langley whispered in my ear, and he told me not to overthink. It was one of the moments of weakness in our life, but now I remember Langley was right on that horrifying night. Have you heard about PBA? It's pseudobulbar effect, which can cause uncontrollable laughter or cry. I wasn't aware of this term before I encountered with someone who had this. I'm a professional swimmer, and this story is about a summer when I was just training to participate in preliminaries back in high school. It was the first day of the summer training program. Our coach, who usually trained us, was absent due to some reason, and there was supposed to be a new coach assigned for the first week of training. There were only 3 of us who were to arrive on the first day of the morning session and changed into my swimming gear. After doing some warm-up exercises, I went inside the pool and started doing some breaststrokes. No one else had arrived yet, but during the swimming, I suddenly heard a loud, weird laughter coming from the other side of the pool. Believe me, I felt embarrassed thinking that someone was making fun of my technique. I looked toward that direction, and a middle-aged man was staring at me and laughing without showing any other emotion on his face. All of a sudden, it stopped being embarrassing and started to become creepy. I thought of ignoring him and continued to focus on my training, but then I saw him inside the pool swimming towards me. And that's when I heard Sam's voice calling me. "Hey bro, you early here again? Do you even sleep at all?" As I got out of the pool, I saw him waving towards me with a big smile on his face. "I'll sleep after training," I said while laughing, giving my entire focus to Sam and ignoring that creepy guy. "You are amazing, bro. You train 4 hours a day, work at night, and still look all freshened up." He laughed while admiring me. I shrugged my shoulders playfully and decided to join Sam in the pool. That man still hadn't left, and he was sitting over at a bench staring at us. It felt a bit uncomfortable, but I tried my best to ignore. He would still sometimes laugh, which would divert my attention towards him, but it looked like Sam didn't notice him, so I completely ignored the man. "Hey guys, Coach Gilbert called me to say that the new coach has already arrived. Have you seen him yet?" Sarah, who was also one of the students and was supposed to train on the first day with us, had arrived and said while practically shouting at us because we were a bit far from her. We looked at each other, and then our glazes went toward the man from earlier. He had stood up and was looking in our direction. He bowed his head towards us and then started talking with Sarah. "Guys, Coach has asked for you both to finish your strokes quickly and then do 10 laps each." She was always the bossy one, but I could not figure out why he asked Sarah to tell us instead of telling us himself. He kept laughing sometimes while we were practicing, which I still could not figure out why. During the entire practice session, he would just tell Sarah about what we were supposed to do next, and he just sat there and watched us. After training, we chit-chatted a bit and then headed towards our homes. After exiting from the club, I was still thinking about his uncontrollable laughter, which I was unable to figure out why he was doing that. At first, I thought he must be laughing at me, but then it looked like he wasn't. It must be some sort of disorder he had. I got inside my car and started to drive towards home. I went to the bathroom, took a clean shower, and got in bed to sleep. I checked my phone after waking up and saw messages from Coach Gilbert. He had asked me to check on the new coach in the evening, saying he was a bit shy and may end up getting bullied by college kids. I was supposed to head for work within 2 hours, so I thought it would not hurt checking on him on my way. I got dressed and headed outside. After that, I drove towards the club, and as I reached it, it seemed like no one was around. The club looked empty, and there were no signs of new coach as well. As I was about to leave, I heard a faint laughter combined with the sound of groaning which was coming from the pool. I went there to check, and fell back from shock and terror from what I had saw. The pool was red from the blood, and the new coach was floating with multiple cut wounds on his body. He was trying to take his last breaths. I decided to get in the pool to take him outside, but within a mere few seconds of what thought, the coach's body had drowned. He was dead. I was trembling with fear and couldn't reason with myself about what I was supposed to do at that moment. Then all of a sudden, I remembered that I should call 911 for help. I dialed with my trembling hands and informed them about the scene I had just witnessed. After a few minutes, the police had arrived at the scene, and I was being questioned about what I was doing there at the first place. They checked the CCTV footage, but the surveillance camera which was installed near the scene of the crime was found damaged. Hence, no footage was recorded from there. But I was clearly seen in the camera at the gate entering the club, and the new coach was also seen entering an hour earlier than me. Apart from me and the coach, no one else was captured in those footages within those time frames. So I had become a suspect of the crime due to being the only one present at the scene. His body was sent for autopsy, and now all I could do was wait for the results. I was being questioned between the time frame. No relation was found between me and the coach, so there was only the autopsy result that could tell if I killed him or not. After 2 days, the results were finally in, and according to them, the injuries he sustained was 15 to 20 minutes prior to the time I had reached at the pool. The police started to search for other suspects and evidences. They checked the surveillance footage multiple times when they noticed that when students were entering the club, there were 7 of them, but only 6 of them exited the club. They checked the footage after the body was taken, and a man wearing the hoodie was seen exiting the pool after midnight. That's when I gave them the messages that Coach Gilbert had sent me about the new coach. He was called for interrogation, and during the same questioning, he broke down. He told the police that he just went there to talk to him about not taking over his position as trainer for the competitions, but the new coach kept laughing, which annoyed him to the extent that he lost control. But as soon as he realized what he had done, he got nervous and planned to frame me instead. That was when he texted me and hid the other evidences as well. Coach Gilbert was put. It was the summer which affected my life and my point of view to look at the matters and people in an extremely different way. I still sometimes wonder that laughter is not always a cure for some people, specifically with the people who suffer from disorders such as pseudobulbar effect.